Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of November 14th to the 20th of 2022. Alright, so quite a bit going on astrologically this week. This is an important month, of course, because it is the eclipse month. We just had that lunar eclipse last week, and so it really is a month of making changes to our life path, perhaps significant stuff that's changing, and just bringing more awareness to our spiritual path and making those shifts and changes to further it moving forward. So this week is certainly a step in the right direction with that, since we will be in the third quarter moon, which is the more active oriented phase of the cycle. And in this case, implementing any shifts or insights from last week. But all in all, we have a lot of trines, particularly with Jupiter. So Venus, Mercury, and the Sun, who are all quite close to each other at the moment, will all be trining more expansive Jupiter this week. Tuesday with Venus, Wednesday with Mercury, Sunday with the Sun. And so there is this support here to perhaps expand our horizons a little bit, either mentally or literally. We also have a trine with the Sun and spiritual Neptune on Monday coming into this week. And a lot of sign changes, okay? We do have Venus and Mercury changing sign. They're going to go from Libra into deeper Scorpio. So Venus will be shifting around Thursday, which is a shift of values. And so the shift will be more valuing the deeper world, things like intimacy, trust, deep diving, the research, uncovering deep stuff, psychology. All this deeper world will be the value, and also a great way of connecting in our relationships. But Mercury here as well, our minds going into the underworld and excavating and communicating and working with this deeper dimension as well. Now, the most important aspect this week, though, is around Saturday, where assertive Mars, who is retrograde right now and will be until mid-January, is going to have this second square with watery Neptune. So there could be some lower energy or some lost at sea energy, collectively speaking, but nothing we're not used to. We had this contact back on the 12th of October, but another step in the right direction to perhaps learn something about maybe taking it easy, going more with the flow, being receptive, listening to our soul when it comes to those actions and initiatives. All right, so let's go and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here's the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for each day of the week, starting first with Monday, November 14th. And as you can see, we are using the visible sky on this channel, very different from mainstream astrology, which you'll never see using this planetarium because, well, they don't use the visible sky. So the signs do change. And if you're not yet familiar with true sidereal, definitely check out that link down below for more information on true sidereal astrology. Okay, so lots going on here this week. You can see just with the aspect grid, we'll go ahead and break all this down. A lot of blue, which is a lot of these are those trines I was talking about with expansive Jupiter, but also this bit of a clash here between that fiery Mars and that spiritual Neptune. So lots going on with the aspects, but even with the sign changes as well, because Mercury and Venus will be finishing up this short transit of Libra that they've been in. The Sun will still be here through next week as well, but they're going to start to change sign as well. So let's do a bit of a recap. Where are we coming into this week? Well, we have a lot of Libra energy, and this is where the eclipse has been involved and where we have the shifts from last week, because last week we did have the lunar eclipse, and that was in the opposite sign of Aries. And so this has been a good time since last week to do a bit of a status check with our needs, with our own desires, who we are and what we want, and balancing that, particularly balancing that with others, with relationships, with partnerships. And so there has been a lot of focus on these Libra things, which is about the scales. It's all about bringing things back into balance in our life. And so still good to work with this, still through the whole week, even though Venus and Mercury will be shifting out of their midweek. Anything that is about bringing things back into balance in our life, perhaps cultivating some of that relationship stuff or partnership stuff while balancing it with the independence. All right, this can be a great way of working with this week. And, Mars is retrograde in slow and steady Taurus. And so that's, of course, still going on. So good to take things slowly and steadily right now with whatever our goals are, whatever our needs and desires are which we'll talk more about. That's square to Neptune here this week. But let's go ahead and start first with Monday. So Monday, the moon will be in Cancer, and so just a good day around Monday, even the early part of Tuesday, for a bit of protectiveness, okay? Creating a protective environment for ourselves and others. And there is watery energy because the sun will be trining spiritual Neptune, and so Monday and Tuesday, we could be feeling just a little bit receptive, a little more easy to go with the flow, right? A little bit more maybe compassionate, maybe even intuitive, creative, spiritual. These kinds of spiritual things are in support to the vital life force of the sun, which is very nice these first couple days. On a side note, Mercury, the planet of our minds and communications, will be in a sextile with deep Pluto. So we can see the deep shifts this week I'll talk more about. But the early part of the week, Monday, Tuesday, maybe it's a little bit easier. There's some opening to connect on a deeper level, both in terms of what we're thinking about and how we're communicating. This is also where we have the first trine with Jupiter this week, and so it will be Venus, the planet of enjoyments and values, in a good harmony to expansive Jupiter. So particularly Tuesday, if there's anything that does involve enjoyments that maybe are a bit adventurous, not just adventurous with the body, but also with the mind or spiritually, could be enjoyable. Maybe just feeling a bit buoyant with the enjoyments of life, good meals, relaxation, nature, and those relationships as well. Maybe discussing philosophies, more abstract stuff. Again, expanding those horizons through those one-on-one connections can be great there. So a lot of that blue, a lot of that trine, supportive energy, and again, that moon in protective Cancer, creating a protective environment for ourselves and, of course, also for others. Now, as we do go into that later in the Tuesday and setting the stage for that middle part of the week, the moon will be in Leo, okay? And this is expressive Leo. And so it's all about connecting with our hearts and expressing ourselves. And this is good all the way through Friday. And so Leo, the line, is about connecting to the things we're proud of, things we can create, things we express, playfulness, fun, entertainment, hobbies, interests. Right, anything that is about that, or just literally sometimes self-expression, will likely be the main theme of this middle part of the week here. Okay. And so great for anything that is, of course, on that level. Now, again, we still do have these trines with expansive Jupiter. So on Wednesday, it'll be Mercury's trine. Mercury, again, mind and communications. And so Wednesday in particular, good for letting that mind wander, for the mind to be adventurous. Great for anchoring higher, abstract, spiritual stuff in a way that's practical. Discussing, talking about higher, abstract stuff or possibilities and potentials. Could be a lot of opportunities actually coming out of this week for a lot of us. All because of our perception. Our perception is expanding when we have contacts like this with Jupiter, and it's because of those expansive perceptions that we can see things from a different angle and perhaps see some opportunities coming out of that. Now, Wednesday is when we do come to that first challenge, let's say, of that lunar eclipse from last week, in that it's not challenging like the first quarter, which is earlier in the cycle. This is the lunar cycle we've already been in for a few weeks here. So we're quite used to it, we're quite seasoned with it, and so we're usually quite willing to take those actions and challenge ourselves. And so all week, especially around the Wednesday time period, if there is anything you do want to integrate that shifted from last week, all right, anything you want to challenge yourself with and implement, all right, it's a fantastic week to challenge yourself to do so. It can be a very constructive week for action, implementation. Again, still with a bit of that receptivity in mind, since again, we will have that Mars squaring Neptune. And of course, Mars, the planet of our drives and actions, is retrograde. So it's supposed to be experimenting. It's supposed to be trying different things and kind of still reflecting on what our needs are and what we want and who we are, really. So, but nonetheless, some of that supportive energy there with mental Mercury and expansive Jupiter. Now, this is going into Thursday, where we'll still have that moon in expressive Leo, but we do have some sign changes. We have Venus starting to go into that deeper underworld of Scorpio, who will be immediately followed by Mercury on Friday. And so Venus is the values, and so we could be enjoying, even though this is usually stuff that we're afraid of, or it's our traumas or wounds, it's that deeper world, it's the hidden, all the stuff we've hidden about ourselves, but It's lighter. It's easier usually to do it with Venus because we're seeing the value of it, or we could even be enjoying it. And it's even great to be connecting in our relationships in that way, right? And maybe just simply enjoying external depth, research, the esoteric, the occult, psychology, things of this nature. And Mercury will be here facilitating this because our minds will be going into that underworld. Our communications will be going into that underworld, right? And and so it's just flavoring more of those experiences, particularly in the interpersonal realms, relationships, the enjoyments, and our thoughts and communications. Okay, so that shift again, Venus on Thursday and Mercury on Friday. Now, as we do get to that later part of Friday, we're certainly going to start to feel this Mars square Neptune. A lot of us will probably feel it all week long. But again, nothing major because we've already had this contact back about a month ago, on October 12th. And this is part of a 3 contact series. The last one will be on March 14th of next year, involving this fiery Mars going retrograde right now. It's that assertive, driven side of ourselves in this clash with our spiritual self, with the spiritual aspects of life. And so this particularly is good for making sure that whatever it is we are pursuing in life, is that it is important to us on a soul and spiritual level, that we are connected to our soul while doing it. This is where the real benefit of the transit comes through, is that it's fantastic for any type of actions that are to have more peace in life, to have more soul fulfillment or spiritual activities, things of this nature. Where the lower energy or the fatigue or the uncertainty might come in is when we're trying to pursue something that's perhaps in conflict with our soul. Or maybe it's too ego-driven, or we're holding on too tight, because Neptune does remind us to let go, to have faith and trust, to live presently. And what's the point of doing anything in life if it is not connected to our soul? And perhaps to simply just get some rest and some relaxation and some spiritual time. This is all needed. So it's a reminder of that, perhaps a bit of a challenge to do that, because these are both in a square, they're both in a bit of a clash. Our assertive side might be conflicting with our spiritual side or unconscious mind, self. But anything that does intentionally, we're aware of this, we can integrate it, then great. Aligning that fire towards the spiritual, towards the soul, towards the present moment. Makes it a great way of working with this. Okay. Now, along with this, we do have some support with Pluto. Pluto will be, again, he is the ruler of Scorpio. And so he is supporting the sun here with a minor sextile. Just helping us see a bit of the deeper world, again, unveiling, right? Supporting us for personal transformation, for healing, for deep diving. Okay, and then as we start to get into that Saturday time period where that Mars square Neptune will be very strong, it's in its apex here on Saturday. We do have the moon going into improvement Virgo, and that's going to be for its normal long transit of this very large constellation going into next week. But Saturday and Sunday, great for improvement, refinement, striving towards perfection, focusing on what we do have control over, fixing things, improving things, getting into the details. Could be a good weekend for those kinds of activities. Once we do get to the later part of Saturday, and especially by Sunday, we should be easing up off of that more watery Neptune feel, and perhaps by then integrated some of this energy. Okay. And then we have that last trine with Jupiter. So the sun will then trine Jupiter late Sunday going into next week, which is again a bit of that open-mindedness or free-spirited energy that in this case is supported to our vital life force, to the sun, to our vital self, the sun, collectively. All right, everyone, so quite a bit, but also can be seen as quite straightforward. This is a week of implementing the lunar eclipse energy of last week and challenging ourselves to do so. We have a lot of support to do so, a lot of trines, particularly with Jupiter, which is that planet of seeing things from a different perspective, expanding our horizons, perhaps even opportunities. Even with Pluto, the underworld, helping us perhaps empower ourselves, transform things, face fears. There is that shift into the deeper world with Venus and Mercury going into Scorpio Thursday and Friday. Right. And so shift of values and shift the way we're thinking about things. But that can be a great way of working with that energy for the coming weeks. And then just, apexing on Saturday here, this aligning the fire and water, the ego and the spiritual self, right? And if they are aligned, great, fantastic. But anything on that intention is great. All right, so everyone have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're not yet signed up for MTZ Insiders, it is a free newsletter where you do get these videos released first before YouTube. So do sign up if you haven't yet. But have a great one, everyone, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.